Welcome to the Lorehounds' first Murderbot Rampage. I'm John, and if I tune out, it's because I'm busy binging Sanctuary Moon.
Hi, and I'm Elysia, and just because I can't look you in the eyes doesn't mean I don't care.
All right, well, we have a lot to get through today because they did a double drop on us. Only 30-minute episodes, though. So I guess we'll start off with our spoiler-free hot takes and give some background info, and then we'll give a spoiler warning. Yeah. And Elysia, what's your background with this franchise?
So I've done some of the reading now. Basically, I learned about it because of this TV show, and then all these people are talking about the books, and then you looked into the books and you're like, oh, well, the novellas, most of them are only like 100 pages. I was like, well, yeah. I can do that.
Yeah.
So I read, we'll run through what is included, but I read a related short story first, then I watched these first two episodes, and then I went back and read the first novella. So I'm going to keep reading as the season goes on, but of course, no future book spoilers, for anything that hasn't happened in the show. And we are not watching ahead of the drop dates.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, I read maybe a third of the first novella, and then I started reading more of the Heir to the Empire series, and I was like, I want to read that more. So, and then when you said you were reading, I was like, maybe I'll be the non-book reader. That way we have one person who can yell about speculation.
Okay, good.
If you want to keep reading, I don't know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we've got a lot to talk about today. So you've outlined here, we've got 2-episode initial drop, and then we're going to have a weekly for 10 episodes. And the titles are FreeCommerce and Eye Contact. And do you want to go through the rest of this?
So they are they're 30-minute episodes each, so quite short, which I guess fits with the length of the novellas as well. And the log line is, in a high-tech future, a rogue security robot, played by Alexander Skarsgård, secretly gains free will. To stay hidden, it reluctantly joins a new mission protecting scientists on a dangerous planet, even though it just wants to binge soap operas.
I do. I love the premise of this. I love the premise of this whole thing. This idea that this Murderbot has gotten the ability to do anything, and is like, I feel like Netflix is the move.
What do you mean?
You know? Like this Murderbot got the ability to just completely have free will. And chooses to just be
binge.
It's just kind of just binge and lounge and not do anything with that power. Just it's the opposite of with great power comes great responsibility. It's with great power comes a lot of vegging out.
With great freedom comes the ability to watch space soaps.
Right.
So, what did you think of these first 2 episodes overall?
I thought they were great. I had a very busy week, so I had to watch this like on my laptop when I had a minute. Mm-hmm. But the visuals, from what I see, it's basically just Foundation with comedy. It's got a lot of great visuals. Mm-hmm. What the highlight of it though is the characters, and the characters have great chemistry. I think they're interesting characters. I don't think they're character archetypes we often see in sci-fi, and I'm really enjoying this ensemble crew. Also, I was really skeptical of Alexander Skarsgård going in because, it's a robot who's supposed to be asexual, no genitalia, completely, not even non-binary, but just agender, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, this is a very clearly masculine presenting actor.
Right.
And so I was like, are they going to sell it? And the voice is great. His portrayal, his awkwardness is great. I have no issues with his performance. And, they were going to have trouble finding an actor fitting all the criteria of Murderbot. So, they had to pick someone. I think Alexander Skarsgård is doing as good a job as anybody could.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know that it's funny because I intentionally watched the first 2 episodes before reading the full first novella because I just wanted to, I didn't want to come in with the book baggage, I wanted to give the show a chance first. And then I went back and read Murderbot's own voice. And I was seeing a lot of reviews from people online who were saying that if anything, they thought Murderbot leaned female, but I think that was just a bias because the author of the books, Martha Wells, is a woman.
I too thought Murderbot leaned female. But now that I've seen the show, I think it's fine. I think it's fine to have Alexander Skarsgård. And like, we're not going to change it now, so I'm just going to live with that.
No, I mean, but what I want to say is that when I read after watching, of course, then I'm just seeing, Murderbot as Alexander Skarsgård, and every line fit perfectly. And that has to do with, his delivery, and also has to do with the writing of the character, where I do think it is more truly agender than people than people realize, and this really pointed it out to me. But I have to admit, I'm going to do my best. We're going to refer to Alexander Skarsgård, the actor, as he, but Murderbot is definitely it. I might slip and say he sometimes, but I mean it.
Yeah. We can't even go they. This is treated like an object, and maybe eventually Murderbot will choose some pronouns, but for now, we got an it here.
Murderbot, does not want to be seen as human, as the same as the other humans.
Right.
So this is something that a lot of people really like about this series, is that Murderbot is very neurodivergent coded. There's the asexual and aromantic elements that make people feel seen, but also as coded as likely on the autism spectrum. And Wells, the writer, she said herself, I didn't realize how ND I was until I started writing this character.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah. Well, it's good to, writing can be an exploration in ourselves too.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I'm so glad to be talking about this show now. I mean, of course, we've been talking about Andor, which is a masterpiece. You guys have been talking about The Last of Us, and we've been talking about The Wheel of Time before that. And these are all fantastic shows with a lot of depth and emotion. But, I just need I need some space hippies and, some feel good vibes. This is a palate cleanser that I need right now. But there is surprising depth, in addition to the fact that, the Murderbot character makes a lot of people feel seen. It's such a relief to find a story where there's plenty of drama, but it's not because the characters are horrible to each other. Like, the characters are good to each other because life throws enough obstacles your way as it is.
Right. Yeah. They don't have time to be mean to each other.
Right. Yeah. But it's also just like they take a moment, like even in these 2 episodes, this is not really a spoiler, but in these 2 episodes, at one point, Mensa is mad at another character and she just like gives him a look, and then she, stops, opens the door again, and she's like, I just need to take a shower. Okay. And it's just that just taking that beat to be like, listen, this is just, I just need a moment and everything will be fine. Yeah. I also love how there's a theme throughout where we find out that Murderbot is learning empathy through the entertainment that it consumes, and how that models positive behavior. And, because Murderbot starts to care about fictional characters, Murderbot can translate that into caring about the real people around it. So I love everything the show stands for. And so far, 2 episodes in, I'm having a great time.
Yeah, I want to go back to what you said about stories teaching empathy, because that's something that I think about a lot with, people kind of treat speculative fiction. And when I say people, I mean the general public or academia treat speculative fiction like science fiction and fantasy as sort of a lower grade of literature than, realistic, let's say, fiction. Things
so-called
that are
literary
capital
fiction.
L literature, right?
Yeah.
And to me, I think that speculative fiction is better at teaching empathy than literary fiction.
Hear.
And the reason is it lets you let go of your biases and your preconceptions of your world. And it lets you see things one level removed, so that you are challenged to take that and empathize with a character who has a situation that might be analogous to you, but it gives you the freedom to explore how that character feels and how they reacted and how other characters reacted. And so I think as much as you can get value out of literary fiction, I'm not degrading literary fiction, I think that you get true empathy and emotional intelligence out of speculative fiction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what's great about speculative fiction is, fantasy and science fiction in particular, is that it allows you the space to create like a new framework to sort of try out a mental experiment about, well, what if there were this key difference in the world,
Yeah.
And that gives people the space to look at, like, well, would that be better? What would be the problems there? And how does that translate back to what we experience in our world? I've heard that Martha Wells, the writer, she has a degree in anthropology, by the way. I think that shows in her writing. I've heard that her other series are the same. She's done some Star Wars and Stargate writing, by the way, but her most popular series, other than Murderbot, are Elysia and the books of the Raxura. So I think I'll be dipping into probably starting with Raxura. That's the one I've heard the most about after this, because it's really refreshing to see someone who writes in this way.
You've been Wells pilled.
I've been Wells pilled, yeah. So I'm going to try to, as the season goes on, I'm going to try to read through all the books. Luckily, most of them are novellas or short stories. I already read, she released this short story called Obsolescence, and it's part of this book called Take Us to a Better Place. She released it in May of 2020, and you can find it online as a free /audiobook. And it's set in this world, but closer to our timeline than to Murderbot's timeline, and it's kind of it shows. So at some point they're colonizing space, and before they had these SecUnits, they would have humans, people who were born, as humans, they would volunteer to become rovers, and then they would be like, their form would be changed and they'd be fitted with parts, and these were the people who first explored the first colonies before they got this new system. So it's a short story about that.
That's spooky.
Yeah. Apparently they refer to it later in the series, like he's watching a documentary on it or something.
This sounds like the Cybermen conversion.
Right. But they still have empathy. And everything.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's say the Dalek conversion of a certain
they're
character.
Not murder. Well, one of them. It's a murder mystery. Obsolescence, the short story.
All right.
But it's a short story.
There's a little murder, but who among us hasn't seen a little murder?
It's okay, so that one it's only loosely related. It's like 30 pages long, so it's kind of like a mini novella. I absolutely love, there's a flash fiction short story, only 5 pages long, called Compulsory in Wired magazine, and that one is about Murderbot itself, about a moments from a previous mission. I'm actually going to bring that up later, but yeah. So, but the first book is All Systems Red, which won the 2017 Nebula for Best Novella and 2018 Hugo Award for Best Novella, which, for anyone who doesn't know, these are like 2 of the biggest, most important sci-fi awards. You started this one, you said you got like halfway through?
Maybe like a third through. I'm pretty much got through a little bit further. Like probably by the end of next episode, I'll have finished what I read. So then I'll be clean. Then I can speculate freely.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to keep going. So there's apparently the first 4 novellas are one overarching plot. So I'm wondering how much of that will feed into this season. So in the next 3, these first 4 were all published in 2018. And Artificial Condition, Rogue Protocol, and Exit Strategy are the next 3. And then there's this short story that's between the books called Home, Habitat, Range, Niche, Territory, which was in Reactor magazine. You can find that online for free too. By the way, the other short story was in Wired magazine from January 19. You can find that online for free. And then there's 3 more books that have been published after that at this point. So Network Effect is the only full-length novel. It was the 5th released, but it's actually 6th chronologically after Fugitive Telemetry, which is a novella. And then the final novella is System Collapse, which was released much more recently, November 2023. And there's apparently at least 2 more coming because there's a deal with Tor for that. So
okay. Tor's everywhere. They have all my favorite books.
Well, I know Abby said she wishes that it would stop after book 5. So I'm like, okay, I'm curious. I'm curious now.
Yeah. Sometimes series they overstay their welcome. We know that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll see what I think when I get there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as a sequel trilogy Defender, I think maybe you have a better shot of enjoying it than Abby.
It's true. But yeah, so the Apple and Paramount, this is a joint production. They optioned from Wells, and the entire first season was written by Chris Weitz and Paul Weitz, who are known for tons of stuff, including American Pie, About a Boy, Mozart in the Jungle, Rogue One. They also contributed to that, or one of, I forget which is which. And I think Paul Weitz directed this episode. I'm not sure. I think they might be directing the entire season as well. So far, so good.
Now, these were the people who were on Rogue One, and then Tony Gilroy came in because they didn't like what the director did, right?
Well, so it was with Gareth Edwards was the director of Rogue One before Tony Gilroy came in, and I have a feeling that the bad blood that we've heard tell is between Gareth Edwards and Tony Gilroy.
Okay. So we won't blame them.
Yeah, David was just suggesting this this podcast that goes deep into the history of the Rogue One production, so I just added it to my listen list.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, before we do our Rogue One roundtable next week, I think.
But these aren't the droids we're looking for. We need our droid.
Right.
We need Murderbot.
Right. Yeah, I have to say, so I've read through the entire first novella and those other 2 short stories, and I think that the adaptation aspect feels quite faithful to me, but like they have slightly remixed how certain events play out. And I think maybe also amping up some of the drama in certain cases or bringing certain drama forward. It seems pretty faithful, though, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, from what I read, it does seem pretty close. I mean, I think they're probably bringing forward certain character moments, certain drama. But I mean, I haven't even read that drama. That's why I think they're bringing it forward.
Right,
Either that or they added it, but it seems very natural for the world. We could talk about that once we get into spoilers, but I think it is pretty faithful on like main plot beats.
Yeah, I agree. All right, should we do spoilers?
Spoilers. Is that a decent enough River song?
Yeah, that was a very good River song.
Spoilers, sweetie.
Do we want to take a break?
Oh, sure. Let's take a break and then we'll talk about those spoilers. We're back, and I'm not doing my impression again. You can rewind 30 seconds if you want to hear it.
Yes, this is spoilers begin now. I thought we could talk about the characters first, starting, of course, with Murderbot, aka SecUnit 238776431. So the SecUnits are part cloned, quote-unquote, organics, and the rest is machine. And how would you describe the difference between a SecUnit and an augmented human?
An augmented human was born a human and enhanced themselves with certain mechanical pieces, and a SecUnit was 3D printed, right? This is first and foremost a machine that is wearing a costume of human. It's kind of the opposite, right?
That's true, but definitely with like a human brain.
Yeah. I think that's one of the questions is what really is the fundamental difference other than the fact that one is enslaved?
Yeah. Yeah, and they're supposed to be bound by a governor module, but Murderbot secretly jailbroke itself. And we see throughout Wipe's memory from a prior mission, there's glimpses of a lot of screaming. I think this one is one where you might be freer to speculate on than me.
On what exactly?
On what those glimpses of a lot of screaming in Murderbot's wiped memories are.
Yeah. I don't know anything about that. That seems very fun. I wonder if Murderbot has... I wonder if Murderbot has done this before, right? And maybe they're like, he's not going to hack himself. Oh, man. I'm already doing the gendering of Alexander Skarsgård.
I know.
And they're like, this Murderbot, it's not going to hack itself again. You know, that's impossible. It's a 1 in a million shot. So let's give it another shot. And maybe this Murderbot wasn't meant to be assigned again. Maybe that's why they were like, why is that even there? I know that was in part when they were trying to sell it because they just wanted to upsell. But maybe part of it was, we don't know if that's safe. And then they didn't want to say, in public, they don't want to be like, this Murderbot is unsafe, because then that will undermine their whole credibility. Plus, they're like, this is the poor crew. If they die, they die.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Murderbot's afraid of being found out for jailbreaking its governor module, because, like, we keep seeing, that was great, just throwing the visuals of, like, and then you get melted. Like, yeah,
right.
good. We understand where Murderbot's coming from on this.
Yeah.
And there's this tension also, and this is so reflective of our real world, that, of course, television sensationalizes everything. So SecUnits tend to go rogue and kill their clients in TV shows. So I can imagine, we'll talk about Garothan in a bit, but I can imagine why he's like, I don't know about these memories.
But also, I think that Garothan, and this is what I mean, is we're asking these interesting questions of, like, what's the difference? Garothan is also very much in his own world and tapped into the system. And so I think he sees a kindred spirit in Murderbot, and therefore he goes, why are we kindred spirits right now? You should be basically a drone.
Yeah, I mean, I do. So Garothan's an augmented human. Murderbot is a SecUnit. And I wonder if they're definitely, like, when you see the whole group, the whole Preservation Ox survey team, you see the Garothan is well loved by the group, but is also the odd one out in terms of, like, doesn't want to do the harmony circle, the one who's, like, kind of just dancing in the corner to what Murderbot...
You can... I can hear the way you're describing him. I could hear Sister Michael from Dairy Girls going, you will go far in life, but you will not be well liked.
And that's why it's great that his group does like him. But it seems like, but he's just obviously not as comfortable with the group and the groupiness of the group as the rest of them. And, that puts him a bit between them and Murderbot in terms of disposition, and also obviously in terms of skills. I like Murderbot's description of, like, I can feel him in the feeds. Like, it's kind of like saying, like, it tickles a little bit.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. And I just love how much disdain Murderbot has for Garothan. He's like, come on, you think you know better than me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think this is the case of, like, because they are more similar than everyone else in this cast, it kind of puts them into odds in a strange way. Or maybe Garothan doesn't want to acknowledge their similarities, or he's jealous of the fact that Murderbot is, because Murderbot is more tech, Murderbot's better at all the tech stuff. So
yeah, and I can do anything. You could do better.
You can do better.
I think that's where we're kind of at here.
Yeah. Well, and of course, so this is a new, I like that they started by, there's a slight change from the book showing, like, it being abused by previous clients with the burning, but there is references in the novella of, like, the humans forcing them to fight each other and things like that. And I like that they established that. So when then you land on this planet with this group of hippies, it's really nice to you. It's like, maybe not all humans are that terrible.
Yeah. It is really interesting. Oh my God, I'm never going to get this. I'm never going to get calling a being it. But it really struggles with this, right? Because it's watching the feeds all day, and it actually sees that there is beauty in human life. But then it still has this bias of, like, okay, but I have been a slave for an untold amount of time. And most of the humans I've seen, I mean, presumably most of the humans that Murderbot has seen have been, like, the richest people, have probably not been very nice to them, to him, to it. And it's going to be tough to shake that. I totally understand that.
Yeah. I mean, but still, we see glimpses that Murderbot is protective, jumps. It keeps talking about, like, I just want to watch TV. But then as soon as something happens, it's, humans, don't get yourself stupidly killed, and then says
but part of that is self-preservation, right? Is if you get killed, they're going to figure out something went wrong with me.
Right. Right. And they do give us glimpses of these murder fantasies. Like, what if I just killed them all?
Gosh.
But and it's interesting that they note that Murderbot, they're known, they are corporate property, and part of their systems that they're running is spyware. And so they are recording and sending back things to the corporation, conversations and things like that. And of course, that's going to make everyone extra iffy around their SecUnits.
Yeah. And I think there was a quote in the book that was like, everybody knows this is going on, but they don't realize to the extent. Which probably is reflective of our real world with spyware, right? Like, we're probably all being monitored at all times by various corporate parties and governmental parties.
Yeah. I mean, I do have an Alexa that's listening right now, Yeah. I do like also that they emphasize it both in two ways. We'll talk about Sanctuary Moon in a minute, but there's a navigation unit there who's like, I'm not a sex bot. And Murderbot's also like, I am not a sex bot. Those are things that exist, not me. Definitely not even remotely interested in that side of things. And as we said, generally said to be coded on the autism spectrum, but doesn't want to be forced to conform to people, doesn't wants needs the alone time to recover, hates to be forced to make eye contact. So that was one of the cruelest things that Garothan did in these two episodes. It's like, you must look me in the eyes.
Yeah. But I understand why Garothan, like, as much as we are, maybe a little mad at Garothan because we're empathizing with Murderbot.
Yeah.
If I were with a killing machine that might be going rogue, and one of the only ways to test it is if they will follow a direct order.
Sure.
I might make it do something it's uncomfortable with, like that too, right? Something that's not going to harm it, but something that, it's not going to want to do, but it has to do.
Yeah.
Like, that was honestly very smart.
That's fair. Yeah, but I also understand just wanting to hide behind its helmet and stuff. I like the detail I noticed on the second watch that they make the tinnitus sound whenever Murderbot starts to get anxiety. And I only recently learned I have tinnitus like a lot of people, and I have anxiety like a lot of people. And I only recently learned that actually the two are linked. I mean, doesn't have to be, but it is often when people are experiencing anxiety is when they have the tinnitus strongest. So I thought that was a really cool production detail that they're doing that.
That is really interesting. I didn't realize there was any link there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like, just the way Alexander Skarsgård is playing all of this. I think that's why at the end of the day, it's like, okay, could they have found someone more androgynous? Perhaps. Most likely, but I just think it's about the performance, and he's selling this performance with like, you were forced to give a speech, like direct order, or speech or Acebeth. It is my job to secure. Should have gone for the Acebeth.
Yeah, it's great comedy in this. Like, it took a minute for me to get into the mood of it because, again, we've been doing all these serious dramas, and then there's this. And there is this sort of slapsticky tone to it, right? It's not smart humor most of the time. It is very like silly humor. But that's okay because there's a serious story underneath it too.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I need this palate cleanser.
Yeah.
And I like how they're showing that Murderbot's learning empathy through these TV shows. That short story Compulsory is a lot about this. I won't go into that too much, but we do see it in this show where, so in the book, it was this character, Valescu, who didn't make it into the show. I'm glad they cut two characters, honestly, from the novella to the show, because I was having trouble keeping all of them straight. So Arata in the show version is the one who goes into shock when the megafauna first shows up. Okay. And we see Murderbot had watched on Sanctuary Moon, its favorite show, how they distract someone who's in shock by asking them personal questions, and starts modeling this behavior. And this is one of the things where they start to realize there's something quote unquote wrong with their SecUnit, but wrong in a way with it's being too empathetic.
Right. Because that's not in its programming. So does that mean there's something wrong? But also, what I love is this is a team that's not that familiar with them. So they're like, is that in the normal range?
Right.
Whereas as people who, again, were like more wealthy and were more used to dealing with sec units, they might be like, call the corporation. Let's go. Like, shut it down.
Right. Yeah. Because this group, they're from Preservation Alliance, which is a tiny, non-aligned planetary commune or freehold in the middle of nowhere. And they're uncomfortable with having sentient, Mensa comes out and says slaves. And this is interesting dynamic because they're like more primed to see Murderbot as human, because that's how things are in their worlds, that they are still, they do not have the slave status, although I don't think, I shouldn't say too much about that, about the status in their world. But
so can I say, though, didn't Garathan say that he wasn't from right? What was it called? He moved there. He
right, Preservation Alliance. Yeah, he moved there about 6 years ago. A new Mensa, and was pulled in because of that.
So I think, these other people were raised with this idea of like sentient life all deserves respect. Mm-hmm. He comes in, he's like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, I mean, because it's interesting for him, especially to take that stance, considering he's decided to become augmented himself. So question, if you lived in this world, or I guess this is our world in the distant future, would you get augmentations?
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Like, as much as I want to be like, no, I'd want to be natural. Like, no, it would be very cool to interface with a computer. I mean, come on.
Yeah. No, I think the most nerd answer is yes.
Yeah. And you too?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, another important question. So Murderbot is addicted to binging, as we said. And we've learned that there's shows in this world like World Hoppers, Med Center, Argala, and especially we get to see the show within a show, Sanctuary Moon. Which, first of all, the cast of that, John Cho, Clark Gregg, with some of the wildest mutton chops I've ever seen. Jack McBrayer, DeWanda Wise. It's insane show within a show. What would you be binging in this world?
I'd probably find out whatever happened with Doctor Who first.
How long did it go on?
Is this what doctor number are we up to? This is like the 647th doctor.
It's new Who to the 25th power.
We've actually cloned Tom Baker, and he's been 7 doctors now.
It's now what is it? Penta generation. Splitting into 5.
We've just cloned all of the classic doctors, and they all have their own show.
I mean, that's a world I wouldn't mind living in.
Yeah, right.
No, I wouldn't be able to keep up. Actually, it'd be stressful.
But maybe if you were augmented, you could just have it, shot right into your brain.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think of would you want to be part of one of these freeholds like the Preservation Alliance, even though they have, as Murderbot rightfully put it, truly upsetting music?
I mean, you know me, I get pretty on my social justice train. I think I'd probably be a Preservation Alliance kind of person.
Yeah.
How about you?
I mean, I'm definitely all into their vibe. And when I went to Port FreeCommerce, we saw that's where they picked up Murderbot. Mm-hmm. It's like, that seems like a cool place to visit, but honest, and I say this as someone who's lived most of my life in cities, but I don't know. At this point in my life, I'm like, yeah, give me the space commune. I'm in.
Fair enough. Yeah, let's go to the space commune.
So they're on this mining survey in the edge of Corporation Rim, and I realize this show, and I have to say the entire first novella does not yet, at least, identify what their goal is being there. And I think that's something that Murderbot just doesn't care about, which I understand because it's from, its perspective. What do you think that they're doing? I mean, it's a mining survey, but I guess they want to set up a mining colony?
I don't really know. I mean, maybe they explained it and I was watching Sanctuary Moon. but I
Exactly.
don't know what they want to do at this point. Again, I have not watched or read ahead of this, so I don't know. Maybe make a new commune. Maybe get something a little closer to the base. I don't know.
Yeah,
but they do talk in episode 2 about alien tech, right? Can they get alien tech? Maybe it's just gathering resources for their people.
Well, but they said that if there is alien remnants, then they have to stop their survey immediately, and only archaeologists can go there.
Yeah, but they also, it sounded like they were debating like doing it anyway and selling.
Right. Well, I think Garathan was, of course, Garathan was the one who pointed out, like, not everyone respects that rule.
Yeah, and that's a good question, right? Because, you know, we know that these people are on the poorer side of the scale of who are buying these expedition packages. And so the question is, will the corporation look the other way for this low tier package?
Yeah. Yeah. I love Dr. Mensa, by the way. She's quickly become one of my new favorite characters. I wish we could see more leaders like her in literature. I think this is something added, or at least it's not in the part that I've read, but they show her having private panic attacks, and I like that added dimension for her. She's not just a perfect person. She's also dealing with her own stuff and fighting through it to still be a decent human to others.
Yeah. And I do like, you know, it's funny. I watched her, you know, do her shower thing. Like I have to go take a shower just to calm down. I watched that right after I did like a professional development course. And they were like, you know, if you find yourself needing to calm down, try taking a short breath in and then a slow breath out. And I was like, that's so funny that I'm like just hearing like how to calm yourself down in a business situation. And, and then I'm watching Dr. Mensa be like, I need my minute.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially in that situation where they all care about each other, obviously, but they are living together in a small space. That's the thing about these science research missions.
And I'm sure their ship isn't huge either. They've probably been living in an enclosed space for a long time.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious. Okay, so about their mission itself, apparently Dr. Mensa has expertise in terraforming. So I'm like, is that going to play a role, or does that play a role in what they're trying to do here? We find out in the show she has 7 children. I think in the book they mention that she has like 2 partners and stuff. So this is definitely a world where polyamory is just a normal thing that people don't really.
As we learned in episode 2, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I love when Murderbot makes him uncomfortable by like, oh, you want to poke around in what I'm looking at? Fine, I'll look at this.
Yeah, here you go. Here's the thruple signing there. Okay, so the thruple's a little different in composition versus the books because we're missing 2 characters, Oversa and Volescu, and I can't even remember which one of them was in the throuple with Rothi and Pinley. But in the show, it's Arata is into Rothi, who's into Pinley, and Pinley wants Arata to be happy, so says, okay, let's do a throuple. But what kind of, and we find out that Arata and Pinley had tried to do a throuple before, and it didn't go well, because, well, first of all, she was crazy. Okay, she was dysregulated. Second off, we didn't have a contract, but I already drafted one up. So it's like a very nice thing to do that Pinley does not seem happy about, but also that's nuts that as soon as you're like, it's not, do you want to go on a date? It's like, do you want to sign a contract?
You know, you make things official, right?
What do you think about the rest of the crew?
I can't even name them yet. You know, like I'm watching them and I'm like, I have not fully absorbed their names. But who was the one who got wounded? That was Arata.
Bharadwaj.
Oh, that was okay.
Arata is the one who had the shock where Murderbot was talking her through. Okay. Yeah.
So Bharadwaj.
Yeah, right. I like Bharadwaj, especially after she got injured and she was on space cocaine.
Yeah. That's what I was going for. Is that? Yeah. Plus, you know, just the insistence of like, yeah, I'm going, I'm fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was fun because I think in the book they leave whoever got injured behind, right? And that was a whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, she was in recovery in the books as well for a bit. I think they kind of sped through her recovery a little more in the show, which I think makes sense. Yeah, get her back in there.
Yeah, I should clarify. They left her behind at the base to keep recovering,
Right.
not like to die.
Yeah. So we've got on the team, we've got, so Mensa is terraforming, Garathan is, the tech expert, obviously, Pinley's the lawyer, Arata's a biologist, Rothy's a wormhole travel expert / jewelry maker, that's important. And Bharadwaj is a
She's making
geochemist.
jewelry now. Do you know that reference?
It's from a commercial? Is that from
It's a fake jewelry. It's a fake commercial. It's from Portlandia.
Oh, I've never watched Portlandia.
Oh,
my sister was into
so much good millennial humor. The Zoomers will hate it, but there's a whole thing about like somebody lost her job and then she's like, I'll just start an Etsy store, and then they go, she's making jewelry now, and she has a whole theme song and everything.
Well, Rothy's jewelry making aside, I'm wondering. I mean, I guess wormhole travel expert, check, that makes sense. Lawyer, okay, I guess you need all your bases covered. So terraforming, biologist, and geochemist. Interesting. Yeah.
Well, maybe they need the lawyer to set up like the legal structures to start a new commune.
Yeah, I mean, with all the stuff with the corporation, I'm not sure I'm not surprised they have a lawyer with them.
Right.
I'm sure the corporation will dance circles around you with paperwork.
Right.
Well. I like the conversation. So we've given Garathan a hard time, but I do like the conversation where he asks Murderbot, what's it like to be you? And Murderbot says, I don't know what it's like to not be me.
Fair, right?
Yeah. I think that this is going to be a really fun character to explore with, like the nonverbal language between technology is so cool. Yeah, I'm into it.
Me too. I am really liking the characters so far. I think once I learn their names better, I'm going to enjoy them even more.
Yeah, I'm glad they cut to be honest.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with these, especially these sci-fi made-up names get. Although this one's not that bad.
No.
This one's not that bad comparatively.
Yeah. All right, do you want to summarize the plot so far?
Sure. A team of space hippies strike a deal with one of the galaxy's supercorporations for a package to survey a mysterious planet. They're forced to choose a security unit rental to take with them, so they choose the cheapest option, the secretly self-named Murderbot. At their destination, they start to notice their SecUnit appears to be behaving more autonomously than detected, for which they're grateful, once some unexpected megafauna begin attacking them during their survey mission. While they, mostly Garathan, debate whether they can trust a SecUnit with a mind of its own, they investigate one of the mysterious patches of the planet erased from their maps. They discover more of the giant centipede creatures congregating around a giant whirlwind force field that blows up a drone. They decide to contact the other survey team, Deltfall Survey, that they know is on the other side of the planet, but no one picks up the call because, unbeknownst to our heroes, that other team is dead. Mensa decides they should go check it out.
So I have to ask you, you have to explain for those who don't know your definition of good cliffhanger versus bad cliffhanger, and which one is this?
I don't know if I have a firm definition. It's a vibe check, but I mean, I go with, I think the general rule is, don't make me ask what's going to happen. Make me ask what's going to happen next, don't leave the person hanging on the cliff. But I don't think that that's what's happening here. The cliff, they've already fallen off the cliff. The question is this character group that we're now enjoying going to fall off that same cliff? And how are they going to react to it? And are they going to be able to protect themselves based on this? And those are interesting questions. So I think this is the good kind of cliffhanger. It's a cliffhanger should be more of a tease of plot lines to come than it is, literally just like hanging on a cliff, which we get in plenty of shows.
Yeah. And so that whirlwind force field thing, they do talk about alien remnants in the books, and they say the same thing they said in the show, where you have to stop surveying immediately. There's some people do exploit, ignore that and just try to get money off of the remnants.
Mhm.
But as far as I've read, they haven't really described it. And so this is interesting to see on screen. I don't know if they're like amping it up for the show or if this comes from later books.
Yeah, I don't know. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I am actually enjoying not being a book reader in this because it's allowing me to wonder about this world more.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there's still questions, and also, yeah, I haven't gotten that far in the books yet. So it was cool how they showed the self-repairing armor stitching itself back together in the show, and of course, we see that Murderbot can just like regrow entire body parts, but especially because it has like a mechanical inside, you know. But still, with clone printed parts, it's also how they do the organics, how they regenerate the organics. So my question is, can humans also regrow limbs? And that's not a question I have an answer to yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I would think so because they have some way to interface it with the mechanical nerves, right? Like there is some way to interface this. I would assume they can either do that with real human nerves, or they have a Star Wars kind of mechanical hand with, you know, with organics on the outside.
Yeah, yeah. I like that Murderbot is like, whoa, they actually left behind their equipment because it's not as important as lives. Like, that's new.
Oh, gosh.
It goes to show you, if you want to survive the robot uprising, show empathy, model empathy. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I hope we get to explore more of this world. I'm very much looking forward to reading more of the books for this, like about, so we have this example of this one free port and this one corporation, but what are the differences with the others?
Right.
What's the rest of this whole galaxy like?
I mean, I'd be okay if we had a discrete story, if the characters are interesting, the relationships are interesting, the worlds that they go to are interesting. I think that's fine to not expand the political environment. I do love that stuff. I would love to see more of it. But I also know that not every world needs to be that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm expecting this season so far. I don't know anything, but I'm just guessing the season will be focused on this group on this planet. But then I'm hoping that there will be more seasons in the works because I'm already into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so. Apple's pretty good about renewing. So hopefully we get a renewal soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope this does well. And I think that it's great for the show that it is coming out. Like we just had this crush of content leading up to, at the end of the month is the deadline for Emmys consideration. So for this show, the first 4 episodes will be up for Emmys consideration, but I doubt that's what they're going for. But it's not. Right. It's going to have breathing room now because we're wrapping up everything else. A bunch of people, like the biggest shows, are wrapping up now. This show is going to have breathing room to get more attention, I think.
Yeah. How does that work since you're the awards expert? If the show is between 2 years, do the other episodes qualify for next year?
Yeah, but episodes that are released this early into next year are generally forgotten about. So that's why you'll see that crush of content in May, or April and May.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. That makes sense.
Question: what did you think of the monster and the fight?
Visual treat. I thought it looked good. I liked it when Murderbot was involved, and there was a whole. It's got 2 mouths, and I love it. Luckily, I have a big gun.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, it was just fun, and I think the visuals were well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of forgettable in the end. Like it's not the main point of this, but it keeps you entertained while you're there.
Yeah,
and it does do a job of showing you that Murderbot is competent, even if Murderbot is sarcastic, has disdain for the humans. Murderbot can go and kill monsters.
Absolutely. Yeah. Although I guess I shouldn't so callously call it a monster because they are on its territory.
It's just an animal doing animal things.
Yeah. But yeah, indeed, this is a show that's really about the relationships between the characters, which I love.
Yeah.
And Murderbot creepily spying on everyone more than they realize through the cameras.
which again, like our devices. You don't even, it's people make fun of people for having, these smart home things in their house, and they're like, oh well, are they listening to you? And I'm like, my phone's listening to me just as much as those are. Like, honestly, have whatever devices you want.
Yeah, I know. And it is quite useful to me, but I can understand where if there is a point where, the question is, will you get into trouble for, will people be monitoring you to try to catch you out for saying something politically or something like that? That's when it becomes a problem.
Right.
Hopefully we're not there yet.
Oh, it's definitely a problem. I'm just saying that it's not a solution to remove your Echo Dot.
No, I agree. Yeah, because I have my phone right next to me, and if I say "hey" in the G word, it's gonna bling.
Yep. All right. Well, we did the episode, didn't we?
Yeah, both of them.
Good job. Good. Thank you for the
eye
outline,
contact.
Elysia.
Yeah, sure. No eye contact needed.
No anxiety was harmed in the making of this podcast.
And now we get one episode at a time for 8 more weeks, so we can savor these little nuggets.
Isn't that insane? It's going to be on more than twice the amount that Andor was.
I know. And Andor is so much more like content in terms of hours and like the amount it needs to be dissected and stuff. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah. And we definitely want to hear feedback from anyone. What do you think about the show? Whether or not you've read the books, please send your feedback to Lorehounds at thelorehounds.com. And also, you'll find in the show notes a link tree, which has, amongst other things, a link to the Discord, where we have a forum with spoiler chats per episode under current shows right now, which is already starting to get some buzz, even though, as we're recording, the new episode doesn't come out until tomorrow.
Yeah. Thanks, Apple, for the screeners. It's a big help.
Yes, it's a huge help.
Yeah.
It's hard not to keep watching. It was hard to not press play in the next episode.
Yeah, I know. Well, for me, it wasn't hard because I was very busy. And to be honest, I finished the second episode this morning before we recorded.
Okay.
So that's the kind of week I'm having. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. And I'm looking forward to next week when I don't have to watch all of Andor.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So we're wrapping up Andor season 2. It's a lot of season 2s right now. The Last of Us, You and David season 2. There's 2 more episodes left.
Yeah.
It's 7
it's
episodes.
Only a 7-episode season.
Okay. We've got Doctor Who season 2. Also 2 more episodes left. Season
3,
15. Right? Okay. Right. Yeah. I mean, this week. Yeah. And then 2 more after that. Yeah. Yep. And Supercast and Patreon, what's going on there?
We're finally going to do a real pain, our 11Ds, and it's going to be super fun, except it's not. It's going to be very sad, but we're going to be entertained anyway.
Darkly humorous.
Yes. There is humor in the movie. You will have fun with it too, but there's a lot of drama and sadness too.
Yeah.
But we're finally going to do it, and then we're going to do a second 11Zs this month because we kind of missed April. We really tried to get it in, and with Andor and The Last of Us, we just could not do it.
Yeah, it's been a lot. And do check out all the affiliates. Never Mind the Music, where psychology meets music. Radioactive Ramblings, they're getting back into Fallout lore. We got a season 2 date for Fallout in December, which they'll be covering weekly.
Ooh.
Yeah, Rings and Rituals, Properly Howard movie reviews. I think they're starting a Kevin Bacon season 2 season soon. We'll Shift Dust and the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast.
Very nice. Plenty of stuff going on. There's no shortage of podcasts coming out. I just looked at our website. There's stats on our website now for like the podcasts. And we funnel all our feeds and the affiliate feeds through, and I don't think there's many duplicates because I don't put any of our like specific Star Wars and things like that feeds in it. And it was like over 700 episodes between us and our affiliates.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to, and I'm sure listeners are also looking forward to, a slight slowdown now after this huge crush of spring content, as we were saying.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. We're going to have real fun with it. We're going to murderbot all over the place. Yeah.
And then there's more room to do other stuff too. Like we just did that Sinners episode. Check it out if you haven't. And there's going to be Thunderbolts coming up this weekend as well.
I want to do a one shot on the rehearsal with you.
Okay.
Because you talk about palate cleansers.
Yeah, I have to catch up, but I'm only a couple episodes behind.
Season 2, episode 3 made me think that this is going on my top 10 list for the year.
This is what people keep saying. All right, hopefully I can watch that later today.
Like, all the other episodes are great, but this episode was like peak cinema. It was okay. It blew my mind. The entirety of Nathan Fielder's career led to this moment.
Okay. I feel like I need to go back and watch his old show, Nathan For You. I haven't seen that. Have you?
I've only seen clips, but it's funny every time I see it. I do. Mm-hmm. I did plan to watch it at some point. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm still working my way through the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Oh gosh. Yeah. What I do is when Doctor Who is on the air, I get really excited about it, and then I'll watch a bunch of classic Who, and then it's off the air, and then I'm less excited, and then I take a break.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to go through, the Sarah Jane Adventures, they are short episodes, and there's only 4.5 seasons, so.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. All right. Well, you want to do the thank yous?
Sure. Thank you to our Discord server boosters, Aaron K, Tiller the Thriller, Dork the Ninjas, Duve71, Athena Ajalea, Tina Listu, Nancy M, Ghost of Partition, and Radioactive Richard. And thank you to everyone who's listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it with anyone else who's enjoying Murderbot or you think should be enjoying Murderbot's. Positive reviews wherever you're listening are also deeply appreciated and more helpful than you know. Thank you especially to our subscribers because you make it possible for us to do this. Most of all, our highest tier, the Lore Masters, and that is Samartian, Michael G, Michelle E, Brian P, SC, Peter OH, Adam S, Nancy M, Duve71, Brian 8063, Frederick H, Sarah L, Gareth C, Matthew M, Sarah M, Andra B, Kwong Yu, Deadeye Jedi Bob, Nathan T, Alex V, Sub-Zero, Aaron K, Dally V, Mothership 61, Gnarls, Kathy W, Listu, Jeffrey B, Elisa U, Neil F, Ben B, Scott F, Stephen N, Julia F, Collie S, Ilmariel, /Tim, and always last, Adrian.
Thank you, everyone. You're all lovely people.
Now I'm going to fantasize about murdering you.
Well, no, we're not, Alicia.
I'm kidding.
No, we're not.
I'll just watch Sanctuary Moon.
All right. We'll see you after another binge fest of Sanctuary Moon. Bye, everyone. The Lorehounds podcast is produced and published by The Lorehounds. You can send questions and feedback and voicemails at thelorehounds.com/contact. Get early and ad-free access to all Lorehounds podcasts at patreon.com/thelorehounds. Any opinions stated are ours personally and do not reflect the opinion of or belong to any employers or other entities. Thanks for listening.